Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your time again and your interest in road safety in Queensland. We're here today to launch Queensland Road Safety Week 2021. That will run through until this Friday. Just from the outset, can I tell you that we are a chance this year. We've had our worst year for lives lost on our road since 2009, and we are a chance this year, if the trend continues, of having 300 lives lost on Queensland roads. As we stand at the moment, we've lost 174 people on roads in Queensland this calendar year, and that is 19 more than the same time last year. And as I say repeatedly, last year was also a very bad year for us. Within that, we've had a significant spike as well in motorcycle fatalities, which I know you're all very well aware of. But can I just say that we are 50% more motorcyclist lives lost this year than last year. So this time last year we were 30. This year it's 45. It's an incredible number, and something that I thank you for your assistance in helping us get on top of the messaging. Now, what we are launching today is Queensland Road Safety Week video. We have told you many times how to avoid becoming involved in a crash. What we're going to do for you today and this week through the video is we're going to show you what happens after you have a traffic crash. So behind me we've got representatives from the Queensland Fire and Emergency Services, from Queensland Ambulance, from the Queensland Police Forensic Crash Investigators, and also an aerial retrieval doctor, an emergency doctor who flies out to the scenes of traffic crashes. And we'll get them to talk to you about the realities of what it's like to attend these scenes and to try and start the very difficult and prolonged process of putting lives back together after a serious crash. I'd like to acknowledge the journos that are here too, because you guys are often side by side with us at these crashes. You see what we see, you hear what we hear, and just really appreciate your continued interest in road safety. The first person I'd like to get to come up is Shane Henderson. Shane Henderson is a paramedic in the Queensland Ambulance Service. Shane also features in the video. Okay.
Hi, I'm Shane Henderson. I work with Queensland Ambulance Service as a paramedic at Logan West Station. Participating in the videos and assisting with the filming, it captured a very accurate representation of what we go to with road traffic crashes. We go to scenes that are chaotic, they're uncontrolled. We come in and we work with our other partner emergency service agencies, with QPS, to get control of the scene and make it safe so we can do what we need to do to give the patients the best chance they have of a positive outcome. And we have the fire and emergency services there working to extricate the patient from the vehicle to help us to do what we need to do. And it's a really hard job to work all together at once and get everything to go the right way to give a patient the best outcome. And the best thing we can do is just to not be in that situation, so that we're not in that car when it crashes, because we've made the right decision. If we've had a drink, we're not going to pick up the keys, we're not going to go. If we need to answer a phone call, we're going to wait, we're going to pull over, we're going to get there safely. We're not going to let that accident happen. We're going to avoid that. And then we won't have to do all the interventions that we need to do. The fire service won't have to cut cars. The police won't have to do breathalyzers. We'll just get home safely. And it's really hard to work through all of that when we don't need to. So if there's anything that I want people to know, it's that just don't be there. And is there anything else?
Thank you, Shane. The Queensland Fire and Emergency Services has two primary roles in this for us. One is obviously attending the scenes of crashes, and the other is in the education engagement side. So I'd like to ask Chris Clark from the Queensland Fire and Emergency Services to come forward and explain what it's like to be a firie at these jobs.
Thank you. My name is Chris Clark. I'm a station officer with Queensland Fire and Emergency Service, and I am the State Community Education Officer, and I coordinate the road attitude action planning and fight fire fascination programs across the state. These road safety is vital. It's everyone's responsibility to make good choices when they're driving on the road. It is horrible to go to these incidents at times, and it's important that we help people to realise that the choices they make can have better outcomes for us. Whereas choices lead to actions, those actions have consequences. There's a big ripple effect that we talk about that one choice that one person can make can balloon out to hundreds of people very rapidly when we have all the emergency services come together, you know, the QPS, QAS, QFES, SES, tow truck drivers, media, you know, claims handlers that have to deal with the programs or the claims after the incident occurs. If we can make people make better choices on the road, then that's a great outcome for all of us.
Thank you, Chris. With every serious traffic crash and every fatal traffic crash, families often want to know what's occurred and why it has occurred. For that we have our forensic crash investigators. They are a part of the Queensland Police Service. So we have Sergeant Stacey Bark here today, who also appears in the video, to tell you what it's like to get called to the scene and try and unpick the tragedy. Stacey?
Hi, my name's Stacey Bark. I'm a sergeant at the Brisbane Forensic Crash Unit. Our job, once these serious and fatal traffic crashes occur, we are contacted to come and investigate. We have the skills and the technology to be able to determine how these traffic crashes occur. Over the last few years since I've been working there, our technology has increased to be able to determine how fast vehicles are going by downloading their vehicles. We also have the ability now, with lots of people have dash cam, and we have CCTV footage now that we can actually determine what people were actually doing at the time of their crashes. But the video that we did is a really good indication of exactly what we go through at a scene. Usually we are not aware of what we're going to. Well, we have a basic idea of what we're going to, but the end result when we get there is quite different. We come later after the the fireys and the QAS have been and extricated most people. If the person has passed away, they're still there for us to help with our investigation. However, we have an ongoing then job which can take months and years if there's a prosecution, to where we have to build relationships with families who have been impacted by these crashes. So what we're trying to get out there is that, please, when you're driving, don't make silly decisions. Don't look at your mobile phones. You know, drive to the road conditions. Just because the road says 60 kilometres an hour, if it's raining or something like that, please slow and drive to the conditions. Wear your seatbelts. Don't be distracted while you're driving, and don't drink and drive. Most of our crashes can be prevented by these small things. Our vehicles are becoming safer. However, it's driver behaviour that we need to change. So if you just make that change in your own driver's own behaviour, then you won't have these dire consequences that the police and QAS and QFES are going to on a daily basis. Thank you.
How does it feel having to tell the families or the driver involved if they did survive how it could have been prevented by one small little thing that they didn't do?
Look, it's definitely not easy to speak to families, especially if their family member is the person at fault and they are the person that's passed away or the person that's seriously injured. That I think it's very hard to comprehend that small, just that one thing that they did wrong has caused this life-changing event. And that's what we're trying to get across. These people that are involved in these crashes are normal, everyday people going about their daily business and have made a decision that has impacted the rest of their life as well as their family. So we're just asking people, just don't make those silly decisions, you know, that you think it won't happen to you. The people that have been involved in these crashes believed it wasn't going to happen to them, and it has. And it just doesn't impact themselves, it impacts their family, because if they have survived the crashes, their family now have to look after them for the rest of their lives. So their lives have now changed as well. Okay.
I can also add to that one. I was in the country for many years. Two police officers walk up and knock on your door with their hats in their hands at 3 o'clock in the morning. The message has already gone through. So it's one of the hardest things you can do as a police officer. It's tragic. When we as a group are on the side of the road and trying to come up with a viable outcome for the people in the car, there's one sound that we really listen out for above everyone else, and that's the sound of a helicopter with an aeromedical retrieval team in it. We're extremely fortunate here in Queensland to have the services of Dr. Peter Lane, who's here today, and he's a surgeon that will fly to the scene and do what we can to keep people alive. Doctor?
Good morning, my name's Dr. Peter Logan. I'm a consultant emergency physician at Retrieval Services Queensland. In my time, I was a military medical officer in the UK, and I've worked in trauma centres in the United States and the UK and Australia. And the thing that always strikes me is that with road traffic accidents, when the patient arrives at hospital, it's not really the end of the incident for them. It's actually the beginning of a very, very long journey for many of them. Many of them will have life-saving procedures given to them in the emergency department. We may have to put them off to sleep, put a tube down into their windpipe, make a machine breathe for them. Sometimes we'll have to cut holes into the side of their chest to reinflate their lungs. We may need to rush them for immediate surgery straight up to an operating theatre. And it doesn't even end there, because once they're out of the operating theatre, they'll have a period of time in an intensive care unit usually, where they'll receive further life-saving interventions and hopefully get discharged to ward. Once they're on the ward, they'll then start a process of rehabilitation, and that process of rehabilitation may take weeks or even months or even years, and it's a process that may simply never end for them. So the consequences of their decision may actually be reverberating throughout their life for potentially decades, and it won't just necessarily affect them. It will definitely affect the members of their family. There may be people in the family who are economically or socially impacted. They may have to give up work to care for this person when they leave hospital. So when we make these decisions, we're not just really making decisions about ourselves, we're making decisions that can also influence and hurt other people. And there really genuinely is a cascade of consequence that flows from these sort of events that reverberates and impacts on everybody that we love, and everybody has somebody who loves them. That's the conclusion I've reached after about 15 or 20 years of this anyway. Thank you. 20.
Thank you, Dr. Logan. So what happens every time we attend one of these crashes? We all go back to our bases and we do things like we replenish the first aid kits, we clean the vehicles down, we put the surgical equipment in the autoclaves, and we get ready. We even reverse park all the vehicles, because we know that sooner or later, and it can be minutes, hours, days, but we're back out there again. We will always do everything we possibly can to help anybody involved in a crash survive, and survive with the best possible outcome. But we're asking for your help here. Queensland has a problem at the moment with the risks it's taking and the way its community is driving its vehicles. It's got to stop. Wear your seatbelt, put your phone down, no alcohol, no drugs, even prescription medicine. And Queensland's a very large place. Don't try to drive across it in one hit. Please help us to help you. Now we're available for any questions if you would like.
How's the campaign different to other years? What strategies are you using this year that are different?
So the research tells us that if we have confrontational images, it will work on some people, but it won't work all the time. I personally don't like confrontational ads. I've seen enough of that in real life. I don't need to see it on a television. But it's been a long time since we've done this. So what we did this time was we filmed Queensland Emergency Services, did some road accident rescue training. So we filmed it, but didn't use actors. We used the people that do the job. But you will see the things that we see. We do have to cut through glass. We do have to put sheets over deceased people. That's what's different this year. I don't like it, but we're running out of different ways to tell people to stop taking stupid risks on the road.
What do you think's causing, did you say it was the worst on average since 2009?
Yeah, so
Why do you think the reason is?
So there's no one particular reason outside of motorcycles. Motorcycles, like that one we can hear in the background. What we know at the moment is that the COVID restrictions, particularly on overseas travel, have changed spending patterns for people. Where people used to spend money on an overseas trip, if they have it as discretionary income, they're now often buying a caravan, a camper trailer, a jet ski, or a motorcycle. We've had a significant increase of three times the rate of normal new registrations of motorcycles, and a lot of bike riders are coming unstuck. We know that. As for the rest, it's the fatal five: seatbelt, speed, fatigue, distracted driving, drink, drug driving. And it's right across the state. It's particularly prevalent at the moment in the Wide Bay area.
And where was the ad going and when does it start on TV?
So the ad starts today, and it's on social media, and it's in 5 parts. 4 sections with each of the first responders giving their stories, and then one whole ad with the whole lot.
And do you have a breakdown of the figures
I
off
do.
the top of your head of the 174, like how many were motorbikes, how many were bikes, and how many were cars?
I have all of it here, and I'll give it to you shortly. Yep. You're right.
I
Thank you.
just wondered if you could say it.
Oh yeah, certainly can. If you just give me 1 second, I've got to put my glasses on. Look, it's a sad reality that we check these figures every day, and we track them every day. We also know that it depends on the time of the day of the week, and the week of the year. But as it stands, as of 6 o'clock this morning, we have a total of 174 lives lost. Of that, 75 were drivers, 40 were passengers, 44 were were motorcycle riders, 1 was a pillion, 5 were riding bicycles, and 9 were pedestrians. So that represents 19 more across the board than the same time last year.
And just finally, following that bus crash yesterday, and
Yes.
involving in this one crash 19 people, just reiterates the importance of paying extra attention on the road.
Yeah, so we had a 22-seater bus with 22 people on board, which had a head-on collision with a sedan. The driver of the sedan is critically ill in hospital, and the driver of the bus has got some very extensive leg injuries. It brings into stark relief what we're talking about. There's a little painted line down the centre of the road. If you stay on your side of the line and I stay on my side of the line, we can't collide. Sooner or later, someone, for whatever reason, crosses that little painted line on the road, and you've got 24 lives thrown into absolute turmoil. Right? Do you want to ask questions of anybody else?